Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today from upstate New York, but not the upstate New York he normally joins me from, Matt Mallory of Meet the Pressers. Matt, how's it going today, bud?
It's going great. Actually had a nice warm day today and all the snow's melting, so we're getting flooding up here.
We just had 3 inches of snow over here, so it's headed east, so eventually I think you're going to get it. But what I wanted to start today with, man, first of all, but as we get going, as I usually do, I'm going to remind everybody, if you are watching on the Polite Society Facebook feeds or the Polite Society Podcast YouTube feed, you can directly comment on those videos. We'll get those comments. We'll get them up on the air. We'll discuss them. If you're watching us anywhere else, go to Twitter, tweet with the hashtag #TheBullet. If you're catching us on Getter, on Rumble, anywhere else on OpsLens that we appear on, go to Twitter and tweet with the hashtag #TheBullet, and we'll get those comments up as well. Let's get started, Matt. You informed me early, as we were getting ready to go to air, something that had not crossed my radar yet, but there's a new bill that's passed the legislature in New York, and apparently in order to buy a handgun now, or in order to buy any type of firearm, you have to have training before you can get a purchase permit. What's that all about?
Yeah, so it came out of committee actually since 2012, Senate Bill 1701. They've gone back and forth with it since 2012 to try to make it law. It just came out of committee Monday morning a little after 10:30, and basically it's 7 hours of training, 5 hours of classroom, 2 hours of live fire training on the specific gun type that you're looking to purchase. If you end up purchasing a firearm without that certificate, then it's a Class A misdemeanor. And it starts out by you go to your local law enforcement, you apply, they'll actually send you to do the training. Once the training's done, then an instructor like myself would give them an affidavit saying that they passed the shooting portion and the classroom portion, send it back to the law enforcement. They administer a test where you got to get at least a 75 on it, and you have 3 chances to pass the test. If you fail it after the 3rd chance, you get sent back to the instructor to take the course again before they'll actually issue you the safety certificate.
So I want to break this down a little bit here.
Sure.
If somebody has never owned a firearm before and they see everything happening in the news and they think, I need something to protect me and my family, and they want to go get a handgun. Mm-hmm. They don't own any firearms yet. They have to they have to pass a safety certification. So I'm guessing they're going to have to rely on their instructor to have what they need to shoot to prove that they're good enough to buy a handgun.
Yeah, and that's kind of the same problem that a lot of instructors are running into with the new CCA law, which is 18 hours of training. So for somebody to get a concealed carry or carry concealed license to be able to have a pistol license, they actually have to do live fire training. And there's a lot of instructors that are using 22. I'm using UTM, which is legal under the law, so non-lethal training ammunition. But the whole problem with it is it's a burden on somebody. I believe in training. This is what I do for a living. But then for the government to say they're mandating that you have this training, I'm opposed to that, because what about the lady who wants the gun to protect herself from somebody that just harassed her, assaulted her, whatnot, just to have it in case. This is going to be another burden on counties, and then another burden on the citizens, good, moral, prudent people, to be able to have to go take the training and spend the money and et cetera. So I believe in the training. I mean, training's good. I do it, but I just don't think the government should have their greedy paws on it.
I agree with you. I am a training junkie. This year is the first year, at this point of the year, I don't have anything scheduled for training. Every year prior to this, I had some form of training scheduled by the time I got here. And honestly, it's just because everything else that's going on right now. I've got a whole bunch of other things going on. Otherwise, I would have some type of training scheduled. I believe everybody who owns a gun should get some training. I do not believe it should be the law. There are so many stories that come out that people that just inherited a firearm or have just come into a firearm recently that haven't had any formal training. They save lives by having that firearm, by either stopping an attack or when they present the firearm, the attack ends and the bad guy goes away.
And the whole thing with that too is how much of that is documented. I mean, we always hear in the news about, oh, this gun was used in this robbery or the gun was used in this school shooting or whatever. But how many? I'd like them to actually put forward stories of this person just pulled their shirt up, was reaching for the gun, and the guy dropped the knife and took off running. I mean, that's the stuff that's lost in the fodder, and it's stuff that's not really brought to the forefront. And for obviously for the politicians and the media's sake, they don't want that to the front because it doesn't push their narrative.
I was having a conversation with Rob Morse, who's with me on the Polite Society podcast, also comes on the Bullet every other Tuesday. And I asked him through text conversation today if he'd actually done the math, because he's all the time quotes how many self-defense gun uses there are versus crime. I asked him today, have you actually done the math? Do you have the ratio down? He said yes. And I'm reading directly from his text. We use a firearm in self-defense between 10 and 17 times for each time a criminal has a gun during the commission of their crime. He added there are some unsolved shootings that would reduce that number, but not that much. So it's between 10 and 17 times more likely for somebody to use a gun in self-defense than it is for somebody to use it in a crime, and that's according to numbers by Rob Morse. I want to give him credit.
I like that. I'm going to start using that. That's good. That's good statistics.
Absolutely.
Well, it's terrible statistics, but it's good knowledge.
It absolutely is. Let me go ahead and I'm going to go to our show notes here. There's a couple Florida bills I want to talk about. First one, I got this story off Miami Herald. In a signal that a top priority bill of the National Rifle Association faces long odds this year, Senate President Kathleen Passidomo said Wednesday there's little support in the Senate for a bill that would lower the minimum age to buy rifles and other long guns from 21 to 18. The bill, which the House started moving this week, would reverse part of a 2018 law that changed age requirements after the mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland. The gunman, then 19, used a semi-automatic rifle to carry out the attack. Passidomo, she, by the way, is a Republican, told reporters she doesn't support the proposal and that many other senators don't either. We don't have it in the Senate, she said. Nobody's filed it. There's no bill to support. Well, right now the bill is in the House. Matt, I say this 2-3 times a week. If you can exercise every other right at the age of 18, why can you not exercise the right of self-defense and the defense of your country?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was in the Army when I was 17 when I went in. So it's just ludicrous that they don't think enough of young adults to be able to defend themselves or be able to have firearms. And they allude to the 19-year-old that did the shooting. Well, okay, how many 19-year-olds go out and get drunk and crash a car? Does that mean we're going to make sure nobody can have a driver's license at 19 now? Now, keep in mind that driving is a privilege and owning a firearm is a Second Amendment right. So they're trampling on our right, but yet they don't even think about the privilege and going after the privilege when some 19-year-old drunk kid kills a family or something like that. It's insane. It's lunacy.
Absolutely. One more bill that in Florida that I want to talk about, and that is permitless concealed carry. A Senate panel last week moved Florida one step closer to allowing people to carry concealed firearms without licenses, as critics on opposite sides took aim at the proposal. The Senate Fiscal Policy Committee voted 13-6 along party lines to approve the bill, Senate Bill 150, which is now ready for consideration in the full Senate. Senate sponsor Jay Collins of Tampa said minor Senate changes last week made the bill identical to House version HB 543, which is poised to go to the full House. The story, again, this is another Miami Herald story. It says that roughly 50 people signed up to testify last Thursday, mostly in opposition to the bill. And then going back to a quote from Collins, on one hand, we have people who feel the gun is the problem. On the other, I believe that there's a law-abiding citizen. The gun is a tool to help protect those we love, and the answer to criminals with guns is good people and law-abiding citizens there to protect our citizens, he said. I honestly believe there's enough support for permitless concealed carry that it's going to pass both the House and the Senate in Florida this week. The governor will probably get it early next week, and by the time...
Well, he's already said. He's already said he's going to pass it, right?
Yeah. By the time Friday of next week rolls around, I believe it's going to be signed, and we just have to wait for July for it to take effect and for Florida to become number 26.
26, yeah. It's definitely going to happen in that level. But the people that are opposed to it, it's like... It just boggles my mind how many people are anti-gun or they're afraid of guns. You should be more afraid of criminals.
Yes.
Or they say law enforcement.
The criminals should be afraid of citizens with guns.
Touche, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose, or one of the two prongs of the Second Amendment, self-protection.
I want to get a comment in from Robert Prost. This story did not make my... list of ones I wanted to talk about today, but he's saying Michigan Senate passes gun control bills to enhance safety and implement red flag laws. Man, Michigan, it's everybody's saying with these stories in Michigan that it's in response to the shooting at Michigan State University. I disagree. I think it's that Democrats got control of the House and the Senate in Michigan, and they have a Democratic governor. This is the first time they've been able to ram these things through, and no matter if that shooting had never happened, this was going to come in Michigan.
I really think that there should be a law, and hopefully maybe if Republicans get back in, maybe they should put a law forward that would say that if a politician brings a law forward, and that law is found unconstitutional by the Supreme Court, that politician needs to pay out of their pocket or get fired or be tarred and feathered or something.
Yes.
Because that's what they do. They do it here in New York, they do it in New Jersey, they do it in California, they're doing it in Michigan, they've done it in Illinois, where they'll pass a bill into law, and then they'll just, well, hey, you know what, we'll use all of your tax dollars to counter-sue or to fight the court cases that you're going to bring to the Supreme Court. So they're using your own tax dollars to fight you.
They're using your money to fight you. Yes.
Yeah. Hoping you'll give up, or hoping you won't have the money or the support from national organizations and such to fight it. And that's just so wrong.
It absolutely is. I want to get one. This is not a general story that we normally cover. This is, I just pulled the website up. This is off the Forest Scout website, which is the website of the student newspaper of Lake Forest High School. I'm trying to find out where Lake Forest High School, because there's a lot of Lake Forests in the nation. But this article was written by a high school senior, and I'm going to read just a little bit about it. The article title is Debunked, Anti-Gun Activists Double Down on Dubious Claims. And in about the middle of the article, this student writes, assault weapons are uniquely lethal because of their rate of fire and muzzle velocity. He then goes on to debunk it by saying, the rate of fire on weapons like the AR-15 is irrelevant. They operate in a semi-automatic mode of fire. That means no matter how fast the bolt can cycle, it is inherently limited by how fast your finger can pull the trigger. Modern pistols, the type of firearm gun control advocates imply are valid for self-defense, are also semi-automatic and are limited by the same flesh and blood problem. He further writes, moreover, the muzzle velocity of a rifle caliber round is simply the means by which the firearm achieves greater range. range. Unlike pistol rounds, rifle rounds trade the mass of the projectile, the bullet, in exchange for velocity. The muzzle velocity of the round is not a certain indicator of lethality. And I want to read his bio. Cole Clayton, staff writer. Cole's a senior, new to the Forest Scout. At school, he is president of the Spanish club, swims for the JV team, and plays water polo at the varsity level. There's a kid right there. A, he's being raised right, and B, somebody taught him how to do research.
Which is a lost art these days in journalism, right?
I'm telling you, man. It is.
You know, as you were saying, as you were reading that, it made me kind of think of a thought process. Imagine if we banned cars that had a speedometer reading of 140 or 160. Why do cars even have that? I mean, nobody drives that fast. Highest speed limit's what, 70 miles per hour in most places across the country? Or because of the size of it, somebody uses a van, let's say in, Nice, France, and they run a bunch of people over, and we say, this assault van needs to be banned. You can't have any van over a gross weight of X.
Yeah.
Wouldn't even think about applying it to a privilege of driving or a privilege of a vehicle, but yet they're totally applying it to guns. And the sad part is that people out there that are, that we use the word, and we throw the word in the industry around a lot, FUD, somebody who just thinks guns are for hunting four-legged animals, and they don't realize that when a two-legged animal hunts you, that a gun could be a perfect tool to stop that aggression. There's just a lot of people out there that just think guns are for four-legged animals, and it's a tough battle to beat unless we actually educate people and let them know that, the Second Amendment does have the word bear in it, but they weren't talking about the four-legged type.
Exactly.
When they made it.
Well, and Matt, you were military in the past. Mm-hmm. The part that I've been pushing forward more and more, and it's not just for self-defense, although that's a huge part of the Second Amendment. It's also for defense of the country. And let's not forget the rank amateur we have in the White House stirring the pot with China.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not inconceivable we could be invaded again.
For sure. It's defense of the country as far as a foreign invasion, but it's also a defense of the country for tyranny. And I think in some cases, a lot of people are saying, and I hate to even think it, but a lot of people are saying that that's kind of where it's going. That these politicians that are socialist, communist mindset are just pushing this agenda, and they don't want anybody armed to be able to go up against them. And then you get the other side, like, oh, you're never going to beat the country. I don't know. I think we did that back in the Civil War, and they didn't think that it was going to happen, but. So we've got several instances more recently where how did Afghanistan go for Russia? How did Vietnam go for the United States? Yeah. True, very true.
How is
Ukraine? Look at Ukraine.
How's Ukraine? How's Russia doing in Ukraine right now?
Yeah, they thought they're going to wipe them off the map right away without any trouble because it was Ukraine against Mother Russia.
Yeah. So it's very much. I honestly believe the reason we have not been invaded, especially by Mexico, but that we've got some great defenses. We've got an Atlantic Ocean and a Pacific Ocean that are really big and really hard to get large numbers of people across, but once you get here, everybody can join in the defense of the nation. There are more firearms than there are citizens. I'm not going to be lending any of mine out, but anyway, I want to get on our next story, and this was sent to me today by both of a friend of both of ours, John Petrolino. He wrote a story on bearing arms that it seems like Governor Murphy of New Jersey is leaning on and got all 9 casinos that are in Atlantic City to ban firearms on the premises. And there's a quote in there from ANJRPC that I want to read. ANJRPC is calling on the Garden State's 1 million gun owners to boycott all Atlantic City casinos in the wake of an orchestrated joint effort to ban the right to carry on casino premises as private property. Given the many millions in taxpayer taxpayer-funded bailouts of these casinos over many years, it is debatable whether their property can even qualify as private anymore. Casinos have received millions in taxpayer-funded bailouts for many years, including the recently under the Murphy administration, which may have leaned on the owners to ban carry if they are to further receive state funding. Ironically, that state funding may jeopardize the casino ban itself, since government-funded entities may be prohibited from banning the exercise of constitutional rights. And that was not only bearing arms, it also appeared on AmmoLand. What's your thoughts here, Matt?
Well, in 4 days, we're going to hopefully get a good taste of the court decisions, the 5 court decisions from how New York State CCA law went. And if we see that we lose, then it goes to the Supreme Court. And I think the Supreme Court's going to put their foot down a lot more about how states can impede on private property, such as in New York with the CCA. You can't carry in a church, you can't go to a restaurant or any place that serves alcohol or cannabis for consumption, those kind of things. And I think that that's going to set a precedent. Hopefully the Supreme Court comes back and puts it a little bit tighter of a leash around these politicians, so they don't start dipping into the private property and saying where people can and can't carry. But the whole thing, we see this in New York a lot, and I hate going back to New York so much, but we see it in New York a lot where you've got politicians making, in New York we've got hallucinogenics. They're going to make mushrooms legal. They've got a bill going forward to make prostitution legal. They're already taxing us for the throughway. They got lottery, illegal gambling, right, or legal gambling because it's state-run. They've got all these casinos around New York State. They wanted to tax them and make money off of it, so instead of it just being an Indian reservation, they actually allowed the Indian reservations in partnership with the Indian reservations to set up a bunch of casinos all over New York State. Why? So they can tax it. If that's not organized crime, I don't know what is. I mean, all of those things you can't do as a civilian. If you did it as a civilian without the government approving it, it's illegal. But if the government does it, it's fully legal because they're going to tax the heck out of it.
Yes,
it's sickening.
I will say this: if you live in New York, even if you never travel on the toll road, you are paying for that toll road, because if you buy food, that food traveled over that toll road. And yep. I paid the damn toll road fees to get the food to you. I didn't pay those fees. Those fees got billed forward to the shippers and receivers. So indirectly, you're paying for that toll road even if you never take it.
Yeah, for sure.
Last story I'm going to get to today, and we're getting down towards the bottom of the hour. North Carolina sends pistol permit repeal bill to Governor Cooper after emotional debate on violence and gun rights. I got this one off of WRAL.com. I want to read the second headline. This is one of those that's got a primary and a secondary headline. The secondary headline is, pistol permits are the only thing stopping many domestic abusers from easily buying a gun in North Carolina. Republicans say repealing them is an important Second Amendment priority. Democrats fear increase in violence. The whole story is very heavily slanted towards anti-rights, which shouldn't be a shock. But it looks like, and I again, this is stuff I got last night off talking with a few people. The Republicans, the people who are pushing the bill forward, Republicans have a supermajority, and they will, in the Senate, be able to override the expected veto. They are 2 votes short in the House. 3 Democrats switched and voted for the bill. So if they retain all 3 Democrats as a holdover to overriding the veto, this is going to happen.
Yeah, we are in a unique time in this country. We are in definitely a unique time in this country, and I say it a lot, but I think people need to get out there and they need to make sure that they vote, no matter if they think their vote counts or not. They need to support organizations such as the Second Amendment Foundation and Gun Rights Policy Coalition and all these other organizations that are out there. Support them, get behind them, because that's the way we're going to win without going to another civil war, is have it go up to the Supreme Court. And we've got the Supreme Court as it is now. We don't know how long we're going to be able to keep it conservative, so we need to use that to our advantage.
We absolutely do. We absolutely do. And if you're interested in joining the Second Amendment Foundation, it's only $150 for a lifetime membership. If you are already a lifetime member, thank you. Please still go to saf.org/join, and you can make another financial contribution to help get lawsuits forward. As you were talking about that, something occurred to me, Matt, and really there's almost two Americas. There's the New York, New Jersey, that are trying to trample down on rights. There's the Florida, the North Carolina, and a lot of the rest of the country that are pushing forward pro-freedom bills, much to the media's dismay. But these bills are going forward, they're getting signed, and in a lot of America, we're getting more freedom all the time.
So true. So true. Makes me want to move to Florida.
Well,
unfortunately.
It's a little warmer there than New York.
A lot warmer.
Yeah,
we were on vacation. I was down there teaching back in February. Yeah, a lot warmer.
All right. Well, we are down close to the bottom of the hour. Real quick before we take off, please go ahead and plug Meet the Pressers and anything else you want to plug today, man.
Sure, appreciate that. So meetthepressers.com. We're on now through OpsLens. We're on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. So make sure you check that out. Meetthepressers.com or Meet the Pressers on any social media platform. Been trying to put up more content as of late. And then my training company, Public Safety and Education.com or psned.com, where I teach classes, instructor classes, all the way down to end user classes all around the country.
Very cool. On my end, I want to say please do come join me for Training Friday tomorrow. Tom Walls of the Firearms Academy of Seattle is going to be here. We're going to be talking about spare ammo. Among the things we're going to be talking about is how old does ammo expire? How old can it be and still be reliable? What do you do? Where do you carry your spare magazine? What about speed loaders for revolvers? All that is going to be covered tomorrow. Please do come join us for that, 5 p.m. Central Time, and come join us on Saturday at noon Central for the weekend edition where we cover all the stories of the week, wrap the week up. That's a longer program, but I think it's well worth it. That's going to do it for me today. Thank you, everybody who's watched and commented live. Thank you, podcast listeners, for listening, and we will see you next time.